Welcome back to the workshop. It is probably now autumn by the time you're watching this. It's been a hot summer, so I have not done a lot of woodworking. I am actually working on 3 projects, 2 that you know about, 1 that you don't. But I've been busy. I got a new job. I have been doing a lot of traveling, getting content for my Richo Knoxville Instagram, doing a lot of landscape painting from that travel for Richo Hobby Art and for some other things. So today I'm going to talk about some of my vintage measuring devices that I have here in the collection, and some of their features and how they work. Let's start out with probably the oldest thing I have. This is an Upson Nut Company number 61 fold-in rule, and you probably see these a lot. These are seen a lot at antique stores, consignment shops. They're very easy to acquire. I don't know what I paid for this. I got this years ago in Greensboro, North Carolina. In fact, I was looking online for more information on it and found a very interesting article in a Google search, looked at it, and it was something I posted on the North Carolina Woodworker Network right after I bought it. So the Upson Nut Company did make rules for a long time. This thing is a, what was this, 24, it's a 2-foot rule, folds up very nicely. There are pins. There's a pin here that connects to a hole over here, and so it's just a very nice, versatile rule. I've used it a few times on a few projects. It is the same front and backwards. Starts from 1 to 24 here and from 1 to 24 here. So just a very basic folding rule. Nice thing, I keep it in the Dutch chest, in the tray, the pull-out tray drawer, and so it's just a nice thing to have in the collection. This next item is a Dunlap Flex rigid rule. And it's a 6-foot, and so it's just a very basic folding rule or measuring tape, that kind of old metal type. Now this one, it holds a little bit. It doesn't have that spring back that you find on more of the modern ones. It may have had that spring back once upon a time, but I have not experienced this. I got this out of my dad's toolbox. So if you remember videos on like Craftsman tools I got from my dad or some of the other vintage tools I got, this I think was out of a box that actually of tools that his mother had out on the farm. But you know, hers becomes his, becomes mine. So it is in very decent condition. I have not used it. I just kind of keep it in that toolbox that I made for my dad's tools. You might remember that, the box I made with the flip lid. There's a video on how to make that. So that's that. Similar to that, this is a Walsco 6-foot rule, also from my dad or grandmother. This one's a little different. Now, as you pull this out, you can hear it click. That clicking as it goes. This one has been used quite a bit because someone has marked in marker the numbers. 1 through 14 are marked in marker. 15, 16, 17, 16 is okay, but as you can see, some of the 20s are also. So obviously somebody used this a lot for, let's say, 2 feet of measuring. Because as you get further on, the numbers are preserved. Now this locks in place on its own, and then there's a pin here. When you push it, it'll retract back. And that's a neat feature, even for as old as this one is. This one, from what I could find online, looks like it's made in the 60s. So it's from the 1960s. I couldn't find anything on this one. I found ones that are similar that had this emblem on them, but they were on a larger body. So I couldn't find anything exactly like that. If you know anything about these, any of these things I show, let me know in the comments. So otherwise, this is a nice one with that spring reaction. Very nice one. I don't use it. Just like the other one, it's there, that's part of the collection, but I haven't actually used it because, you know, I have a lot of modern ones. Now this one, this is a Lufkin 50-foot. This is one of those things that you can measure a room with. Because it's at 50 feet, it's got a lot of play. And this one just pulls out, for as long as you need, and then it's got that device on top that pulls out, and you can bring it back in like you're reeling in a fish. I don't do fishing, but you get the idea. And so I have used this many times for measuring the rooms in the house here. And I used it most recently for measuring the rooms for the painting that I did earlier this year of our dining room, living room, kitchen, front office, bedroom. And I also measured the stairwell, but luckily the wife decided not to paint that, thank goodness. The other nice thing about this is that with the actual numbers, it also shows what footage you're in. So this is 13 foot 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. And so as you get further along, you don't have to kind of remember where you were. You just look and say, okay, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6. And it does that all the way along. And of course, as before, pull this out, retract it back in. Very good fluid retracting there. And then this piece just kind of probably snaps back in, but I always seem to have to just fit it back in. So that's the Lufkin 50, and I have used this. It says yellow clad steel tape number 50, if you're keeping track of those type of things. This last one, now this is not old. This is something I bought in the last 10 years. But its design, of course, is old. A lot of people see folding rules and they think of something maybe their dad had back in the 1970s or the 60s. And, you know, they still sell these today. This is a nice alternative to a tape measure. And I know some carpenters who swear by these things and will not use a tape measure. And I think I understand why. There is a certain amount of accuracy with these types of things. And also, you know, tape measures are quick. You need to go out to a job site or something, you just get this thing out, lock it in place, do your measurement, whoop, you're done. You know, release the thing. Well, this is not. Pull it out, release it, you know, move on to the next thing. These things take a little more time, but once you've got them out, you've got a straight rule that you can use. And like I said, there are carpenters and woodworkers who really prefer these things over others. I got one because I had one at work, not in imperial, mine was in metric, and I used that on several projects. And I will say, as some of you will attest to, that using metric is sometimes easier than using imperial because you're not dealing with fractions, you're dealing with much easier concepts. Modelers you prefer metric a lot. And so I have used this a few times for its imperial values, and it's worked very well. One additional feature on this thing is on this end, it's got this pull out. This push out additional increments, so you get 6 additional inches that pull out. There are different reasons for this. There's probably videos out that show exactly why this exists. I'll say for my purposes, I use it as a depth stop or for checking depth on things. The same idea of this one. This is a modern one, of course, but you can fit this into a hole up to a certain point, and that line will tell you where you're at. And I use that when I'm making mortises or pockets or things like that. Anything with a depth, I'll pull this thing out. This stays with a workbench, and I'll use it for that. Some people put it in their pocket, stick it in their pocket. There's a little thing for sticking in your pocket. But I don't wear a lab coat here in the workshop, so I don't ever do that. That was something I learned at Colonial Williamsburg about putting it in your pocket. So for this thing, it's the same concept. If I got a small hole or something, I will stick that in to find the depth. There's probably other reasons for it, but in woodworking, that's a very good reason for using this rule. I have several other fascinating rule and measuring devices that I'm going to get into another part. So check out part 2 for more of my vintage measuring devices. Thanks for watching.